My wife said she needed space after 10 years together, and I discovered the truth she'd been hiding from me at work. Some stories don't hit you all at once. They build slowly, in small moments you don't pay attention to at first. At the time, everything felt normal, even familiar. But looking back, I can see how each small decision led here. This is one of those stories that only makes sense once you hear it all. My name is Ryan. I'm 36 years old, and until last year I thought I understood what stability looked like. 10 years of marriage does that to you. It convinces you that silence means peace, that routine means safety, and that love doesn't need constant checking because it's already proven itself. I met Laura when we were both 26. We weren't dramatic people. No explosive chemistry, no movie-style romance. We built something slowly. Coffee dates that turned into dinners. Dinners that turned into weekends together. A shared apartment. Then a shared life. By the time we got married, everyone said the same thing. You two just make sense. And we did. For a long time. We both worked full-time. I was in operations for a logistics company. Laura worked in HR for a mid-sized tech firm. Our schedules were predictable. Our arguments were rare and boring. Money wasn't amazing, but it wasn't stressful either. We didn't have kids, not because we didn't want them, but because we kept saying, not yet. Looking back, I think that's where the crack started. Laura changed slowly. Not in obvious ways. She didn't become distant overnight. She didn't start fights. She didn't accuse me of anything. If anything, she became calmer, quieter, like someone who had already made peace with a decision I didn't know existed. She started coming home later than usual. At first, it was once a week, then twice. She said work was restructuring, new projects, longer meetings. I believed her because I had no reason not to. Then she started talking differently. Not what she said, but how. She stopped complaining to me about work. Laura used to vent constantly. Coworkers, office politics, drama. Suddenly, nothing bothered her anymore. She'd come home, smile politely, and say, "It was fine." That word stuck with me. Fine. One night, while we were eating dinner, she put her fork down and said, "I think I need some space." Not separation, not divorce, just space. I laughed at first because it didn't make sense. We lived together. We were married. Space from what? She explained that she felt stuck. That life felt repetitive. That she needed time to reconnect with herself. She said it wasn't about me, which somehow made it worse. I asked her if she wanted to stay somewhere else for a bit. She said no. She just wanted emotional space. From that point on, our house felt like neutral territory. Conversations stayed surface level. No affection, but no hostility either. She still slept next to me. Still said good morning. Still asked about my day. But something essential was missing. I started paying attention in ways I hadn't before. Her phone was always face down. Notifications silenced. She'd step into another room to take calls. When I walked in unexpectedly, she'd pause mid-sentence. One night, I asked her directly if there was someone else. She looked offended. Not guilty. Offended. She told me I was projecting my insecurities onto her. That she was hurt. I could even think that after 10 years. So I apologized. That apology still haunts me. A week later, I attended a company event Laura invited me to. Casual networking. Drinks. Nothing formal. I wasn't excited, but I went because it felt like something married couples should do. That's where I met Evan. He was tall, confident, and overly familiar with my wife. He greeted her with a smile that lasted half a second too long. He knew details about her projects she'd never mentioned to me. He touched her arm while laughing. Not in a sexual way, in a comfortable way, the kind that comes from repetition. I told myself I was imagining things. At one point, Laura went to the restroom and Evan turned to me and said, "You must be proud. She's incredible at what she does." I said thank you. Then he added, "She really keeps me sane around here." That sentence sat heavy in my chest. On the drive home, Laura was unusually quiet. I asked if everything was okay. She said yes, but she didn't reach for my hand like she used to. That night, lying in bed next to her, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't afraid of losing her. I was afraid she'd already left, and I was the last one to notice. And that was only the beginning. The days after the company event felt heavier, like the air inside our house had thickened. Nothing had technically changed. Laura still went to work, still cooked dinner some nights, still asked if I wanted coffee in the morning. But now I was aware of every pause, every deflection, every moment she chose her phone over conversation. Once you notice something like that, you can't unsee it. I started replaying the past few months in my head, searching for a clear starting point. There wasn't one. No obvious betrayal. No sudden shift. Just a slow drift that I had mistaken for comfort. One evening, I came home earlier than usual. My last meeting got canceled, and I decided not to text Laura. I thought maybe we could have an unplanned dinner together, like we used to. When I walked in, I heard her voice from the living room. She was on a call, laughing softly. Not her polite laugh, the one she used when she felt relaxed. I stopped in the hallway without meaning to. "I know," she said. It feels different when I talk to you." There was a pause. Then she lowered her voice. "No, I can't right now. He's home." That word hit me harder than anything else she could have said. He, not Ryan, not my name, just he. I stepped back quietly, my heart pounding like I'd been caught doing something wrong, even though I hadn't. By the time I entered the living room, she had ended the call. Her phone was already locked. "Oh," she said, startled. "You're home early. Meeting got canceled," I replied, trying to sound normal. "Who were you talking to?" She didn't hesitate. "Work. Evan. We're finalizing a policy rollout." There it was. Evan, out in the open now. I nodded like that explained everything, like it didn't confirm every suspicion I'd been trying to ignore. That night, I couldn't sleep. Laura turned away from me, her back facing mine, a physical mirror of the emotional distance between us. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about how easy it would be to reach for her phone. How quickly I could end the uncertainty. I didn't do it. Part of me still wanted to be the husband who trusted his wife, the one who didn't snoop, the one who believed that 10 years meant something. The next morning, she told me she was going to start going to the gym after work. Said she needed an outlet. I told her that was a good idea. She didn't invite me to join. Over the next 2 weeks, her schedule became unpredictable. Late nights, weekend errands that took hours, a sudden interest in clothes she'd never worn before. When I complimented her, she smiled politely, like the approval came from the wrong source. I tried to talk to her again. Really talk. One Sunday afternoon, I suggested we go for a walk, something we used to do all the time. She agreed, but the conversation felt forced, like two coworkers making small talk. I asked her if she was still feeling like she needed space. She said yes. I asked her if she felt happy. She said she didn't know. That answer terrified me. I told her I felt like I was losing her, that I didn't know how to fix something when I didn't know what was broken. I told her I was willing to try counseling, time off, anything. She listened quietly, hands in her jacket pockets, eyes fixed on the path ahead. When I finished, she said, "I don't think this is something you can fix." I stopped walking. "What does that mean?" I asked. She sighed. Not dramatically, just tired. "It means I need to figure some things out on my own." I asked the question I'd been avoiding for weeks. Is there someone else? She looked at me then, really looked at me. And for the first time, she didn't deny it. She said, I haven't cheated on you. That wasn't an answer. I asked if there's someone else, I said. She swallowed. There's someone I talk to. My chest tightened. Evan. She nodded. She explained it carefully, like she'd rehearsed it. Said it started as work, then friendship, then emotional support. She said he listened in a way she felt I didn't anymore. She said she didn't plan for it to happen. That sentence sounded familiar, like it had been borrowed from 1,000 other stories. I asked her if she had feelings for him. She didn't answer right away. That pause was louder than a confession. She said she didn't know what she felt, that everything was confusing, that she loved me, but also felt something with him she hadn't felt in years. I asked her if she planned to stop talking to him. She said she wasn't ready to make that promise. Something inside me broke then, not loudly, quietly, like a support beam snapping under too much weight. I told her I couldn't stay in a marriage where I was competing with someone else, where my wife was emotionally invested elsewhere while I waited at home, hoping for scraps of attention. She cried, not hysterically, just tears slipping down her face. She said she didn't want to lose me, said she wished things were simpler. I told her simple wasn't the problem. Honesty was. That night, I slept in the guest room for the first time since we moved in. The house felt unfamiliar, like I was visiting someone else's life. The next day, she packed a bag and said she was going to stay with a friend for a few days to think. As she stood at the door, she asked me not to make any decisions yet, asked me to wait. I watched her leave, realizing how unfair that request was. She had already chosen uncertainty over me, and I was being asked to sit still while she figured out which life she wanted. What I didn't know yet was that her version of thinking involved a truth far bigger than emotional conversations. And I was about to find out the hard way. The house felt hollow after Laura left. Not quiet in a peaceful way, but empty, like something essential had been removed, and the structure didn't know how to hold itself anymore. I kept expecting to hear her keys at the door, her footsteps in the hallway, the soft noise she made when she kicked off her shoes. None of it came. The first night alone, I didn't sleep at all. I stayed up replaying her words over and over. I need space. I haven't cheated. I don't know what I feel. Each sentence sounded reasonable on its own. Together, they felt like a slow, careful exit. The next few days passed in a blur. I went to work, answered emails, nodded in meetings, came home to silence. I didn't tell anyone what was happening. Not friends, not family. I wasn't ready to say it out loud yet. Saying it would make it real. Laura texted occasionally. Short messages. Neutral updates. I'm okay. Hope work went well. No affection. No clarity. Just enough to keep me suspended. On the fourth day, I made a mistake. I checked our phone records. It wasn't something I'd ever done before. I wasn't proud of it, but curiosity mixed with desperation does things to you. I logged into our shared account and looked at call durations and frequencies. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. Then I saw his number. It appeared dozens of times. Late nights, early mornings, long calls, some lasting over an hour, almost every day for weeks. Even days she'd come home and told me she was too tired to talk. Seeing it laid out like that felt different from suspicion. This was evidence, patterns, proof that something had been happening while I was still acting like a husband. What hurt the most wasn't the volume. It was the timing. Calls during lunch breaks. Calls during her commute. Calls right before bed. That's when I realized something that made my stomach drop. He wasn't filling gaps in her life. He was replacing me in it. That night, Laura came by to pick up more clothes. She asked if it was okay. I said yes. I didn't want to fight. I wanted answers. She looked nervous when she walked in, like someone stepping back into a place they weren't sure they belonged anymore. She avoided eye contact, moving quickly through the bedroom, folding clothes into a bag. I asked her to sit down. She hesitated, then agreed. I didn't bring up the phone records. Not yet. I asked her how she was feeling. She said confused, drained, guilty. I asked if she had seen Evan since she left. She paused. Not like that, she said carefully. I asked what that meant. She said they'd talked. A lot. She said he was supportive, that he understood how hard this was for her. That sentence snapped something in me. I told her I'd checked the phone records. Her face changed instantly. Not anger, not outrage. Fear. I told her I knew how often they talked. I asked her to explain how that fit into her claim that nothing inappropriate was happening. She started crying then. Real crying. She said she didn't mean for it to go this far, that it became emotional before she realized what she was doing, that she never planned to hurt me. I asked her a question I hadn't planned to ask. Have you been alone with him? She wiped her face and nodded slowly. She said they'd gone for coffee, then lunch, then walks after work. She insisted nothing physical had happened. No kissing, no sex. I believed her, or at least I believed that she believed it mattered. I asked her if she was in love with him. She said she didn't know. Again, I told her I couldn't keep living in this limbo, that I needed clarity, that I needed to know if she wanted to work on our marriage or if she was already gone. She said she needed more time. That was the moment I understood something important. She wasn't choosing between me and him. She was choosing between certainty and possibility. And it represented certainty, responsibility, history. He represented escape. I told her she could take all the time she wanted, but I wouldn't wait indefinitely. I told her I needed honesty and boundaries if there was any chance of reconciliation. I asked her to stop talking to him while she figured things out. She said she didn't think that was fair. Fair. That word echoed in my head long after she left. After she walked out again, I sat on the edge of the bed and felt something close to relief for the first time in weeks. The truth, even when painful, is lighter than confusion. The next day, something unexpected happened. Evan emailed me. Not Laura's work email. Mine. The message was polite, almost respectful. He said he knew this situation was difficult, that he never intended to cause harm, that his feelings for Laura developed naturally, and that he believed she deserved happiness, whatever form that took. He said he wanted to be transparent. Transparency. From the man who had spent months talking to my wife behind my back. I didn't reply immediately. I read the email several times, noticing how carefully worded it was. No apology, no accountability, just justification dressed up as concern. I replied once. I told him to stop contacting my wife while she was still married. He replied that Laura was capable of making her own choices. That was when the anger finally came. Not explosive rage. Something colder, sharper. I realized that whatever Laura decided next, my marriage as I knew it was already over. Even if she came back, the foundation had cracked. Trust doesn't break all at once. It erodes grain by grain until there's nothing solid left to stand on. That night, Laura texted me saying she needed to talk. She said she had made a decision, and as I stared at that message, I knew that whatever she was about to say would change everything. When Laura texted that she had made a decision, my hands shook in a way they hadn't before. Not panic, not hope either. It was the feeling you get right before bad news becomes official. Like your body knows before your mind catches up. She asked if she could come over that night. I said yes. I spent the next hour doing things that didn't matter. Straightening the living room, washing a mug that was already clean, opening and closing the fridge, anything to avoid sitting still with my thoughts. When she arrived, she looked different, calmer, determined. That scared me more than tears would have. We sat across from each other at the dining table, the same table where we planned vacations, signed paperwork, argued about finances, laughed over dumb inside jokes. Now it felt like neutral ground, stripped of history. She spoke first. She said she had done a lot of thinking, that staying away from the house made her realize how unhappy she'd been for a long time, that she felt like she'd lost herself somewhere along the way. She said meeting Evan forced her to confront feelings she'd been ignoring for years. I asked her to be clear. She took a deep breath and said she didn't think she could keep pretending everything was fine between us. She said she cared about me deeply, but she wasn't in love with me the way she used to be. That sentence landed exactly the way you'd expect. Heavy, final. I asked her where Evan fit into this decision. She didn't try to dodge it anymore. She said she had feelings for him, that she didn't know where it would lead, but she wanted the freedom to find out. There it was. Not an affair confession, not an apology, just honesty, finally. I asked her why she didn't come to me earlier, why she let it get this far before saying anything. She said she was afraid of hurting me, afraid of making the wrong choice, afraid of blowing up a life that looked good from the outside. I told her the truth, that waiting didn't spare me pain. It multiplied it. That every day she stayed while emotionally leaning on someone else made the betrayal deeper, not softer. She cried then, not defensively, not dramatically, just quietly. She said she never meant to replace me, that it happened slowly, that she didn't notice the shift until it was already there. I believed her, and that made it worse, because it meant there was no villain, no clean story where one person was clearly wrong and the other clearly right. Just two people who grew in different directions and didn't realize it until the distance became impossible to ignore. I asked her what she wanted now. She said she wanted to separate, not as a trial, not as a pause, a real separation. I nodded. I surprised myself by how calm I felt. I had already started letting go. The conversation just confirmed what my instincts had been screaming for weeks. We talked logistics, who would stay where, how we'd handle finances, what to tell friends and family. It was surreal how practical heartbreak can become once the emotional fog clears. Before she left, she asked if I hated her. I told her no. That didn't mean I wasn't hurt, or angry, or disappointed. It meant I wasn't going to carry bitterness as an extra burden on top of everything else. After she left that night, I didn't cry immediately. I sat in the dark living room and listened to the house settle. The quiet felt different now, less suffocating, more honest. The weeks that followed were hard in ways I didn't expect. Some days I felt relief, like I could finally breathe again without waiting for the next shoe to drop. Other days I felt grief hit me out of nowhere. In the grocery store, in the shower, driving past places we used to go together. I moved into a smaller apartment across town. I told people the truth when they asked. Not the messy details, just that we grew apart. That it wasn't sudden, but it was real. I heard through mutual friends that Laura and Evan were seeing each other openly now. That information stung more than I wanted to admit, but it also gave me clarity. Whatever they had, it was no longer happening in the shadows of my marriage. I started therapy, not because I felt broken, but because I wanted to understand how I missed the signs for so long, how I confused comfort with connection, how I assumed longevity meant security. What I learned surprised me. I learned that relationships don't usually end because of one big mistake. They end because of small, unspoken needs left unattended, because of conversations avoided, because of people choosing silence over vulnerability until someone else listens. I also learned something important about myself. I learned that I wasn't weak for trusting my wife. I wasn't foolish for believing in the life we built. Trust isn't a flaw. It only feels like one when someone misuses it. Months later, Laura reached out to check in. Just a message. Friendly. Careful. I replied politely. Briefly. We weren't enemies. But we weren't partners anymore either. I don't regret the years we spent together. They were real. They mattered. Even if they didn't last forever. If there's one thing I'd tell anyone reading this, it's this. If someone you love says they need space, listen closely. Not just to the words, but to the distance behind them. And if you ever feel like you're competing with someone you've never met, you probably already are. Walking away hurts. But staying where you're no longer chosen hurts more. After laying everything out, I still don't know if there was a perfect way to handle it. All I know is that this experience changed the way I listen, the way I trust, and the way I think about consequences. Some stories don't end with closure. They just teach you to see things differently. Posted by _space_truth.